I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone. We have a couple of guests with us today. Welcome Mr. Gibson and Mr. Crissell and Nancy and Barbara and Tina. Thank you all for being here. Do we have any announcements from board members? No? I have a couple of, they'll take just a minute. I'd just like to announce, in the interest of getting information out to people, the neighborhood suppers have resumed after a long period when the Congregational Church was going through their renovations of their kitchen. But they have resumed, and they are being held every Tuesday night. So take advantage of them. They're there for the public. Everyone is welcome. So,
Can I ask a question regarding the kitchen? $3,500 came for the dishwasher. How much?
we're going to be discussing
This is the
this.
Congregational Church.
Oh, all
We're
right.
talking about announcements, Mary.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And the other one I have is that there, on March 5th, at the First Baptist Church, there will be a ham and bean supper, and the community is welcome to attend. It's a minimal cost. Seniors, it's $7, I believe,
For seniors,
for seniors.
and $5 to go to a fantastic concert afterwards.
Correct. I was getting to that. Thank you, Bob. There's going to be a wonderful musical event after the neighborhood supper on March 5th. That doesn't always occur. There isn't always entertainment afterwards, but there is a charge for that, and as Bob said, that's $5. So, it'll be a great night out. A lot of people enjoy the suppers, so. Does that trigger any announcements of town events going on that board members might remember that they might like to make, or we'll move on? Or Pam, do you have one?
I have one. I don't know if you saw the flyer, but Selectman Jim Carr's mother, Tess, is celebrating her 90th birthday, and on Sunday they're having a reception at the church, at the Congregational Church, as a matter of fact, to celebrate that. I did put a flyer up. They asked us to do that, and certainly if you see her, she is a member of the social club. You might see her in the hallways. Wish her a happy birthday.
Thank you. So, just while we're on that subject of just keep your eyes and ears open between meetings so that you can bring, announcements of community-wide events, then we can get them out. It's just another way to get the word out, I think, for people. All right. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 11th meeting?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Patty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Bob? Friends report. They're getting ready. Friends report, you're up.
We were just making
Would
one
you
up.
come to the microphone, please, so that, we've had very good feedback about having people in the audience come up to the microphone to speak.
Good,
People were
good.
complaining that they could not hear in the televised portion of this meeting, so thank you for cooperating with that.
Okay. Yeah, we were just making one up there. This is not real. It's no. We had our Valentine's Day party, and it was a great success. We had 82 people come, and we had just a lot of fun. We improvised with our kitchen and had sandwiches and salad and dessert, and that worked out very well, I think, because we haven't heard any complaints about it yet. And we are planning the St. Patrick's Day party, and that's going to be at the Tech. We're going to have Irish dancers and corned beef and cabbage, and it is going to cost $5 a person.
You pay when you go there.
When you go there, you're going to pay. Don't pay before that. Pay then. And
It's limited.
yes, it is limited to 75, I believe. Right, Nancy?
Yes.
Yes, limited to 75. So we already have quite a list because we used the time at the Valentine's Day party to have people sign up, which I thought was a good idea because we got to the people who probably don't even hear about it sometimes, you know. So that was good. I'm not sure how many we have. I don't want to make a number right now, but I know there's a lot on
I
that
was
list.
numbered 59.
Good, great. So I think we'll fill up for sure for that. We always do.
What day is that?
Then Nancy has a few things that she's going to mention, but I also want to mention that the thrift shop is having a mini sale this month, the month of March, actually. And it's only a sale of sweaters, and they will be $1 each. And then after this sale is over, we may have another one with slacks or something, but it is not our $3 a bag sale. It is a little mini sale. And it's going to be March 1st to March 15th. So come in and get your sweaters while they're hot. Or before it gets too hot. So, I think that's about it for me, and I'll have Nancy come up and give her report.
Barbara, the date of the St. Patty's party?
316, yeah.
3/16.
March 16th.
Yeah, March
Right.
16th. Sorry.
Usually at 12,
And at noon again.
12 noon, right.
Yeah.
And as always, board members are encouraged to, if you can, attend events such as this periodically when you can, if you're able to. So it's a great event,
Right, right.
usually.
Barbara,
Yes. Oh, by the way,
where
yes.
do you get the tickets? From who?
Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to bring it up. I had almost forgotten. But, of course, coming soon is our Senior Follies. This is going to be our
April.
third one.
April.
And it's Sunday, April 17th. It's going to be at 3 p.m., and this time in the Littleton High School because we needed a bigger stage. We have bigger props. And we had so many people last time, we're expecting more this time. The tickets are $5 a piece, and Barbara Cam is picking them up today. And you can stop at the thrift shop to see about getting your ticket, or any cast member will have tickets. So
What's-
just ask around and you'll find out who
What's
they
the
are.
date?
The date,
Income
April
tax.
17th.
Are you
Posted
starring
tax
again, Barbara?
Absolutely, she is. Absolutely. Got lots of surprises in this one, so we hope to see everybody there. There are 600 seats there, so
Bring a friend.
Or two
or two or three. Yeah, but, yeah, last year we sold 300 tickets, so we felt like we needed to
Yeah.
up the ante there.
Right.
So
And
we
I
were
know-
going to go up on the price, but we all decided, no, we want everybody to come and enjoy it, but this is a fundraiser for us, actually. So,
Also, too, I know, at an event that I went to last year, several other directors in other towns where we were talking about the Follies.
right.
And
Oh,
they
yeah.
said, please let us know when it's occurring next year, because they might be able to come too.
Right.
So,
We
I think
have,
the word's gotten out in the broadcaster and everything
Yeah.
anyway, right?
We also have the flyers being made up today, and we intend to mail them around and have them in the stores and everything, too.
So, I think
Okay.
COAs in the surrounding communities, it's been such a successful thing
Yeah.
that I think people are interested now in like, oh, we gotta find out more about this.
Now, we do want to say this might be the last one that we do.
No.
It's so hard trying to think of how to do this stuff. But we have so much fun with it and a lot of laughs. We're laughing, so hopefully other people will laugh.
It's most enjoyable.
Yeah. And Nancy, you want to?
Finally. The volunteer luncheon will be May 18th. It's always on a Wednesday. And the reason it's always on a Wednesday is that's when we can have the multi-purpose room. The kitchen might be ready by then. We're hoping it will be. So details have not been set in motion yet because we still have time. I just don't know where it's going to be. The fashion show will be June 16th. Barbara already talked about the Follies. Now, I'd like to explain something to you regarding signing up. You really must sign up for all Friends functions so that we know how many people to prepare for. Our limit is really 100. However, if you count our board, your board, and the Littleton Social Club, you have close to 30 people. So that's when we want the other people, say 75, sign up. But we have places set aside for you, for me, for Pam and Tina, and the Littleton Social Club. There will always be a cutoff date that you need to sign up by, and if you don't sign up by that date, you're off the list. So we really would appreciate it if you took the time to sign up, and you either call or go into the Council on Aging office to do so. I think that's all I had to say. Do you have any questions for me?
Did you want to mention the high school spaghetti lunch?
Oh, the high school spaghetti luncheon is, oh, Pam, when is it?
15th, April 14th. Thursday?
Thursday, April 14th?
What date?
April 14th, it's a Thursday, it's at 1 o'clock. We just received the logo for the tickets today, which will be available at Pam's office, and that is a limit of 75 for everyone.
For the high school.
Does it,
luncheon.
does it cost?
No.
Okay.
This will be their third year in a row doing it for us. I do believe it's going to be Italian again.
Is it seniors
Somebody's
only?
spaghetti, I
Seniors
guess it is.
only. Yes, seniors only. But there will be more people there. There'll be principals there. There'll be staff members there. So that's why we're limited to 75, just like the Friends limit to 75, so that we can include others.
And often too, Nancy, you have town, people representing the town
Oh,
attend
yes, the
some of these
selectmen,
events too.
yes.
The selectmen come, one or two of them or something, so they get added into the numbers too, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Lots going on, my gosh.
Lots going on.
Yes, you are so well organized, you people. Before we get into our business, I just want to make one quick comment, and that is that my desire is, if we can all pull together and be organized, is to be most efficient today, because we do have a full agenda, and we'd like to accomplish some specific things and not put them off. So, but we do have a lot, and I may have to, we'll make discretionary decisions as we go along, but we have some important things we've got to accomplish, like our goal setting, the new agenda item, so. So, all right, let's go into the old business, unless somebody has a comment. Old business, update on the kitchen project. Pam?
Well, the kitchen project is cooking right along and right on schedule. If you'll recall, the last time we talked about this, I reminded everyone that they said it would be 12 to 15 weeks. They did start a week late because of the difficulty with getting the permits. We started November 2nd. The 15 weeks runs out at the end of this week, and it looks like we're very close. I was down there this morning. The 3-bay sink is in, the hand wash sink is in, the dishwasher is in. It looks like they have all of the piping in place for the fire suppression system that's over the stove, and the stove is sitting there. They obviously can't put that in. But the other progress is they've repaired the floor, which is right in front of the stove. So it looks like we're going right along. Just to let you know about the plan, I've talked with Gail. As soon as they give us occupancy, which means it has to be inspected by the electrician, the plumber, and the fire department, once we have occupancy, then we're going to need to do some cleanup and then start getting things in from the storage container out in the parking lot so that I can stop paying for that off of the project. It's looking very, very good. I do want to remind people, though, that this is not the Congregational Church project, and we're not doing a rehab on the dining room. It's not going to be beautiful by any means. We have put our money into those code violation items. So if you could see the copper that's underneath the sink and the amount per foot for big copper pipes, you'd understand where some of the money's
Well,
going.
that must be beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Make sure you have a guard standing next to it.
Really, takes your breath away when you see how much is there. But things seem to be going along pretty well. So I'm optimistic, as I said, that next week we'll be working on getting the permits in place, and we'll be going right ahead, right on schedule, so.
Yes,
30
Mary?
Yeah, you had a
35
question.
3,500 came from Minuteman. How much did the town give for this? Was that the 38 that you mentioned way back when?
The town gave $140,000 for the renovation of the kitchen.
140 plus whatever, 3,500. That's what it cost. Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's what it's cost, but that was the amount that was appropriated.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's another thing in for an override.
Okay.
I beg your pardon?
There's another thing in with for an override, right?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. What does it say in the minutes of the thing? I thought they said something about that. Okay.
The Friends called out that we had to pay $20,000 because of the changes in the vending system, but that was
Okay,
paid
that's-
out of the appropriation.
Yeah, okay, that was out of the appropriation.
Yeah. No, nobody had to pay that. Friends didn't pay that. Nobody paid that.
Yeah.
That was
No, they were
within
just
the
making a
project.
comment that
Right.
there was.
Other questions?
Mary, it looks like you have a question.
No, you've answered it. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to B, under old business, the TREAD program. And Pam, would you like to address that?
Oh, thank you very much, Roseanne and Patty, for your applications to be on the board for the TREAD program, so that we could get that off the ground. We have had some donations to that. Just to remind people of the timetable on that, we'll be taking donations all the way through the year, but appropriations won't be made until in the fall for disbursements.
In the flyer that came from the electric company,
Oh, they did send it out?
yes, they don't have a good editor. It's for the elderly,
Disbursements will what?
the elderly.
Disbursements will become when?
In the fall. The elderly.
They need a good proofreader, huh?
Yeah. So, but it did come, and, I was waving it under my husband's nose so that he would make a donation, but, I thought that was too sad, that it was, that the thing you notice right off is this strange word.
Do you have all your people?
There is still one position, but they have enough for a quorum, so they can meet and make some decisions. It's set by statute that it is the treasurer, which is Steve Venuti, the chairman of the Board of Assessors, which is Fred Freund, and then 3 members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. And Roseanne is one, and Patty's the other one. And then there's a third position.
Thank you. Let me add my thanks to you for doing that, stepping up.
So there's no meeting date?
Not yet.
Okay.
I told you it'd be not a lot of heavy lifting for them.
They won't get into board meetings until they get applicants, right?
Right. That's when they mostly have to do the work. And even then, applications are going to come through us, through Tina, and we'll be doing the vetting.
Any additional questions? Great. Moving on to new business. And Pam, perhaps you would like to,
right.
yeah, you're on. You can do the honors. This is a great one.
Yeah, a shout out and a thank you to the Vincent Cooper Fund for the donation of $10,000 for the Energy Assistance Program this year.
Really
That is
great.
wonderful of them. We already have people who, for various reasons, need the assistance. Sometimes people are eligible for the oil assistance program for SMOC, but that doesn't start until a particular date, and for people, when money is short, they start the oil season often with an empty tank. We've also had a couple of situations with people who were using electric for their heating, And obviously, the fuel oil program doesn't help you with that.
This is done only with the COA, and Tina's handling this? The
What's
energy,
done only with the CO?
the Cooper
Dispersal.
Fund for the energy?
So the Cooper Foundation makes donations to various points, but they made a donation to us of $10,000 that goes into a fund that you'll find on your fund sheet that's called the Energy Fund.
Okay.
And Tina disperses it.
I disperse it,
You
but Tina
disperse it,
makes the
and-
decision
yeah.
on who's.
Do you need a vote on the thank you?
No, because the fund is already set up, we could just immediately put that right in.
Okay.
The second item, if we can go
Yep.
on to that.
Move on.
I'm sorry to have to tell you that Sue Hutchinson has had to resign as our representative for the Minuteman Board. They have a board with a representative from each town. Sue, her mother has been ill, and she's had some work issues that are interfering with her ability to get to the meetings when they're being held. So she's had to withdraw. I just had a conversation this morning with the chair of that board, who's very anxious to get a Littleton representative there. So if anyone's interested, please get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with Jean, and she can tell you what the duties are of being a board member. Obviously, it just needs to be someone who's interested in Littleton, interested in seniors, and wants to make sure that we're fairly represented and that we know what's going on with Minuteman. Minuteman, for anyone who's not familiar, is the private, not-for-profit organization which funnels state funds for a variety of programs. They provide Meals on Wheels. They pay the salary for Gail Dalton, who is our manager for the kitchen, the diner. They do the screening for elderly abuse complaints that come in. They provide services in the home for seniors. Am I forgetting anything, Tina, that's really important that they do?
Like, personal care and laundry service, and they have some very limited transportation.
Very limited.
They provide legal services.
And the
Oh,
personal response button that people wear, they provide that.
And they're located in Bedford?
They are physically located in Bedford, and we are part of their catchment area. And this is a nice flyer and handout that tells the services if anyone wants to look at it. Thank you, Barbara.
And they have supported us, like with the kitchen.
Well,
And
right, and as Mary
obviously-
pointed out, they gave us $3,500 for
Yeah.
our dishwasher. They've been very supportive of all of our programming, and very complimentary of our diner program and the work that Gail has done there.
So,
Went to their last quarterly meeting. Remember, I brought all that stuff back. It's a great organization. I had a lot of contact with them when I worked for Mass Health.
I remember you getting a summation of their services, and the bottom line, the total was something like, say, 150,000 if we had to pay it, that they are doing for free, something
wouldn't know
like
if I'd
that.
call it for free.
I'm guessing, well, I'm guessing at the figure, but they do provide wonderful services.
Every year at the end of the fiscal year, they do give us a summary that, the Shine counselor, they provide the Shine
Right.
counselor, they do the training for the Shine volunteers. So every year, they do provide us with a summary, and then the amount of money that would be in equivalent services. Their funding comes through the state from taxes.
so it behooves us to have a representative on their board so that we do stay, current. But it does not have to be a board member. It can be someone in
It
town.
can be anyone.
Anyone in
Yep.
town who has an interest in the elderly, as Pam said, and, has the opportunity. Are there meetings during the day or at night? Do you
I
know?
believe they're during the day. I think
During
that
the
was the
day.
problem Sue was having.
You
Yeah.
didn't mention the amount that we're assessed. What is it, 2,000, 2,500?
$2,500 a
20
year.
per senior?
But $2,500 a year, we've already made it back with the $3,500 for the
Right,
dishwasher.
right, yeah.
So,
If we don't receive anyone to be on the board, I was going to put something in the April broadcaster, because it is open to anyone. It doesn't have to be one of our
No.
board members.
I just really want to get that word out. It does not have to be, a board member or anybody, a concerned Littleton resident who has an interest in this could be godsend and help us out, so. Thank you. All right, that brings us on to our new business, and that is the goals for the coming year. Yes, Susan?
I have, before we start with Bob's synopsis headed, I have sort of, maybe it's not a goal specifically with regard to housing or transportation. It's a hardware kind of goal that, with all the things that are coming up and the thing we just talked about, the MSS board position, we should have possibly a subcommittee that handles publicity or PR to get these kinds of word out beyond just the broadcasters. Somebody or somebodies who have writing talent or journalistic ability to form a subcommittee that that takes on these various things that have come up in the couple of years that I've been here on the board, that we need to get the word out. I mean, the needs assessment proved how much we need to get the word out.
The job is yours.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
You're
can
too
we,
quick.
what I'd like to do, that's a great idea, I think, for a goal for the year. And what I was going to suggest that we do is, you were all asked to bring 2 or 3 goals with you that you think would be appropriate and they're attainable, things that we can, put our mind to and kind of attain by the end of the year. But what I wanted to do is solicit that information from you and ask for a volunteer to write them on the board so that we're organized a little bit, and then we can maybe as a group decide what we want to choose as our goal. So that would be something that
Well,
would
that's
go
kind
in
of
the
a
list.
hardware.
It is a hardware thing, but it's also something that the COA can do. Can, as a group, decide that they want to develop another subcommittee, and would have to vote on it and everything, but it's something that if the committee feels that we want to do, I think, I agree with you. So there's the first one. I mean, I just need a volunteer now who would be willing to jot things down as they are mentioned.
Oh,
Roseanne,
thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 colored dry erase markers
They're not
here.
permanent markers, are they?
No, they're dry erase. That's okay. You can take your pick.
That's great.
So, Susan's already come up with a possible goal.
You sure you don't want to join her?
We're not worried about that yet. We're worried about just figuring out where we want to put our emphasis and
Right.
our efforts,
Okay.
I think, for the year.
That's why I sort of wanted to get that hardware thing out of the way.
It is, but you know what? That's a very good
We're not getting into a whole discussion, right? We're just...
No, we're just putting forth our ideas. And the reason you have this sheet that Bob submitted was that he graciously put in writing his thoughts about goals, and I thought it would help us kick things off. He's raised, concerns about certain areas, and you also have your thoughts that you brought with you. So why don't we just go around the table, and you may not, I have certain areas that I think we might want to focus on myself. I have not written a specific goal that's measurable, for that, because that's something that the group can do. But that's why I wanted us to really pay attention and be efficient in this task today so that we can kind of get it done. Yes?
Let's go get the lawn party. One of the things that I thought about beyond the goal of a PR committee was we need to hear what Pamela, as the director of the COA, is looking at as her goals, as we're advisory to her, and it behooves us to sort of know where she's leaning so that we support.
Absolutely, I agree. We can't work alone, we work as a team here. And Pamela is involved in submitting and has ideas about goals, and she actually guides us, I think, very, very efficiently. Does guide us, so. All right,
That's not what you said, though.
that's what?
She said that Pam needs to give us an idea of where her goals are so that we can coordinate our goals to hers.
That's right. I understand that. And I think Pam obviously has goals and thoughts in mind, so.
Well, I'm just gonna take the other marker, and I'm just gonna mark up here. I have what I call 5 focus areas. Whenever I work on the budget, these are the 5 areas that I try to protect budget-wise from the town. So, transportation.
Yeah.
These are not gonna be a big surprise. Outreach.
Yep.
And from my standpoint, it has to be for all. We were mostly concerned with the elders. Our nutrition program, senior tax relief, which obviously there's the tax work-off program, but also like running things like the TREAD program. And I don't know if you remember last year, we bumped up from 20% increase to a 50% increase on the personal exemptions. And then wellness and programming in general. Preserving enough in the budget to be able to pay for the various kinds of things that we like to do throughout the year that focus on getting people in the door. Things like our exercise programs, Tai Chi.
Well, your 2 recent articles in the Independent also cover housing.
There is a housing authority in
There's
town.
nice, yeah.
And housing does not fall under my bailiwick, but I was interviewed about that.
Right, there are 2 nice articles. If someone doesn't get the Independent, I have them here. They're welcome to read it. They're quoting Pam
Okay.
and her opinions.
Can we get back to our...
Very good.
Let's get our goals up now that Pam has shared with
That's
us where
part of her
she's...
goal.
That's where Pam is.
Yeah.
So can we start with Jean and just go around, and can you just throw out your ideas? Whether it's, or your category, whether it's in transportation is something that you thought was something we ought to be paying attention to? or-
Too, I that they're already down there.
Well, tell us though. We need
That's
to
the
know that.
transportation and the nutrition.
Okay, maybe you just put how you want to do that. I'm sure there might be some overlapping. I'm guessing there will be, which is good because that'll help us make a decision. I mean, if 5 of us are saying we need to be looking at transportation, then maybe that's one we should pick. Nutrition. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just what we need.
Well, I had transportation too, but I also thought about space,
Ah.
you know, where we could find some
Ongoing, yeah,
The
space.
final frontier.
The final frontier. You're right on, right?
Space.
Thank you, Barbara. And you're next. You want to put yours down? You're not left out of this because
Okay.
you're doing work.
Well, I went back and reread through the assessment and my notes. So I think like one of my goals was actually very similar as far as the increased awareness and publicity and PR. And I guess when I think of goals, and maybe Mary, you think the same way because you're also a nurse, we're into care planning, so you have to have, you know, goals with specific outcomes and
Right.
how are you going to get
Right.
there. And so I was trying to think about it from that perspective and maybe come up with some specific things that as a group we could think about doing. And I'll throw out the caveat from the get-go. I am one of those, you know, like lower 50-somethings that would have been in the statistics of, I would have had to have answered, no, I really don't know a lot about what is out there and what's being offered. So, like for my age range and the folks that are stepping up into various different age ranges, ways to do this, like the first thing I thought of was the third Thursdays that happen in the summer. And I don't know that the COA had a tent set up or if any of the town offices. I went to specific ones that I had friends that I knew were setting up a tent. But that might be a way to just be visible.
We have done that in the past. This year, it's $75 and I chose not to put the money in. It was $75 last summer, which is why we weren't there last summer.
Okay, I thought it was less for town agencies.
The previous year, it had been less.
But I still think you should put that up there, or maybe up near that, and, because that's something that should be in the forefront of our minds.
Well,
Yes.
and granted, if the board thinks that's a priority, then we will spend the money that way.
Mhm. So. That's a great thought, though.
The other thought that I had, kind of going on what you had said, was Action Unlimited.
Well, that was, yeah, or,
Along with the independent, because the Action Unlimited, you don't have a choice, you get it. Whereas the independent, you have to make a conscious choice to purchase it.
also, I was thinking of the Globe, and they do the community, Globe Northwest, or, every once in a while. I'm not thinking that we could get in there all the time, but there are venues for,
And that's what a subcommittee
Would
could, if
do.
we decided to do something along these lines, you could be,
they would develop the approaches, and
develop a subcommittee.
I know both the Sun and the Independent really like to have letters,
Mhm.
but from individuals, not from town.
And that's
That's okay. A subcommittee
and that's
could
a way
work
to
on
do
that.
it, yeah, that's another PR piece.
It is.
It would
And
come
it would,
under that.
with encouragement, people, and if they felt comfortable and learned how to feel comfortable about writing a letter, they would do it. So, yep.
And just the other couple of things that I had put down, sort of on the same track about increasing visibility. I know, for example, when I go to the zoning board meetings, most of the time Rick Finley is there. So, there's always, it seems that there are representatives from other boards that make it a habit to go to other meetings. And even if they don't have input, which sometimes he doesn't, he just, he's in the audience, just to be visible. And that, that's something that I think maybe we could think about. Different people might have different interests, and somebody might be willing to go to the planning board every month, even if there's nothing that they have to add. At least we have the opportunity then to give our input on a regular basis.
And get information.
And get information,
Yeah, I think that's valuable.
We can't close this door, this is an open meeting. Who closed the door?
It was
Someone
somebody
did it.
from
Oh.
O'Hara did it, and I don't know who they were.
Sorry, it's an open meeting, we have to leave the door open.
Oh, dear.
Hello. How you doing? Haven't seen you since Mondays.
I kind of second that one, because on my little sheet of paper, I reviewed the subcommittee report from the needs assessment from your email, and having been on that committee, I looked at the outcome of that committee's recommendations, and that was one of my comments was, strengthening partnerships with other boards in town.
Right.
Like Tina's on the housing board, but none of us are. And it would be advantageous for one of us to attend those meetings. I mean, you're on it for a specific reason,
I'm not really on it, I'm there just to observe, but.
just to observe, but one of us being on the housing committee would make a lot more sense.
Isn't Barbara McRae? Is it Barbara?
That's different, this was a different subcommittee.
Oh.
It was-
But that's a
it's
different
than
thing.
the housing authority.
It would make sense for a board, a
Right.
COA member to be on it. And that also goes back to the fire department or the police department, who are becoming more involved in the needs of the seniors. And I think that was the first thing on my list, was to be more involved in other senior boards.
Right.
That's great.
And I'd be more than willing to do that. I mean, that's where I came up with my goals.
Great.
Referencing the needs assessment
Did you give
outcome
your goals
from
yet?
the subcommittee, which I was
It's not my
on,
turn.
that I think are
She's given
attainable.
hers.
Well,
And following that same note, it goes back to where we were going to get a speaker from, I forget the name of the program, modification I forget the name of the program, but it's on the needs assessment. That would be a goal we would be able to be successful at getting at, is to get a speaker to come from that program and speak to the board.
Okay, so overall, the overall thing is though to
Exactly.
improve board
There are two things that can
involvement.
be attained very easily.
Right, so, and I think,
I'll get the name of the program off of the,
well, if we don't need it quite yet, if we're gonna be, if we get things and we go in that
Yeah.
direction, and that's one of our final goals, then we can do it. Or maybe we're gonna have 4 goals this year, I don't know, it's up to the group, but, thank you. Okay.
I had 3 because you said 3. I
Right,
have
so
one more.
we're gonna finish up with Roseanne, and then we'll move along to Mary, okay? Go ahead.
So the last thought that I had was trying, maybe coming up with a way of not just connecting with other boards and departments, but connecting, for example, with the Littleton Business Association to try to see if we could funnel services out to where they're needed at a reduced rate. So, in other words, businesses in town that provide handyman services or landscaping or whatever, that may be willing to provide, 10% of their services at a reduced rate. Of course, that takes a person to coordinate in the middle what's
We
coming in.
can't
and
solicit
where is it.
actively either, I don't think, but,
Well, there are 2 issues to be aware of. One is we cannot solicit from businesses, and the
Okay.
second is that we cannot refer people to businesses.
Okay.
The best that we could do is if someone wanted to make some kind of an offer available, we wouldn't stop them from making that available, like 10% discount, a coupon, or something like that. But there are very strict rules around, in terms of ethics,
Yeah,
what we can do.
so that.
But the point is, it's still good to make the connection.
yes.
And, for people to to let the Littleton business community know that we exist, that what our concerns are, what their concerns are, and so forth.
And we do have members of the
We're not
business community.
soliciting anything.
We do have members of the business community who come to us. Megan Ford, for example, runs a free hearing clinic for us every quarter.
And she has a business in town,
And she has a
so,
business
yeah.
in town.
So it kind of gets
Back
back
to
to the
that.
whole PR.
It does,
you
it
know.
all,
Madam Chair, I think we're getting into discussing all of these.
Right,
and
which we don't
really
need
need to
to
just
do.
get the goals down and
So-
then look at it.
yeah. Are you done? You're done. Mary, you're on.
Okay, my big one was, in reading it, was the housing. That, I know we don't have any control over that, but it's like, I'm lucky, I live in a one-story house and everything is there.
Well, we know it's been determined by the needs assessment that that is an issue. And I think Bob had alluded to that and talked about the need to have it out there and part of our, Ray Matta, go ahead. You want to speak?
Housing.
That's what she just said.
That's what I
housing.
said.
That's what you need to put
Housing?
down, housing. How we write the goal pertaining to that, we'll work on in a minute. But housing is a big area. Thank you.
Transportation was my second.
Thank
And
you.
the third one was well-being for your seniors, their happiness, friendly visitors. Do we have any of those that can go and see people?
Yeah, we
Yes,
just,
13.
Okay, but, just getting more and more and more of that out there. I didn't know anything about
The
it.
wellness programming that Pam has too. It supports that whole idea. So perhaps wellness and well-being. Okay, great. Susan? you
Sorry,
already-
wait a second, you said that was a third, what was your second one?
Transportation.
Thank you.
And Susan's already come forth with a hardware one. I like that term. But anyway.
Well, I didn't know what else to call it.
Go on.
Really, that was my thought, because it incorporates everything we're talking about, how to get all this information once we've
Okay.
formed these goals out there.
We don't need any more elaboration on it. I think we've got it up there, so that's a good one. Nothing else?
No.
Mary, you're on.
It's really repetitious. Possible goals for the year 2016. Our mission would be to link the needs and the resources for the senior community, and then to educate the community on these issues. An example is the housing and the transportation. Number 2 would be develop a program to attract younger seniors. Number 3, develop a grant writing program for senior programs. Number 4 is to continue.
Whoa! Number 3 is,
Develop a grant writing program for senior programs. Number 4 is to continue broadening the message of wellness. And number 5 is to provide affordable housing for the elderly residents.
Housing.
All that has already been covered.
Right, thank you.
It's all been covered.
Yep. Thank you, Mary. Patty, do you have any additional ones? You've
No,
already spoken
I think
to some.
I articulated mine.
Okay. And Bob, we have his suggestions here. Let's see,
the first one is connecting the younger seniors.
and reaching out, again, and that's publicity, and I think, right,
Just
fall
gonna
into
give you
that.
the brief, and then when we discuss it, I'll talk about it.
Transportation is number 3, really. Expanded ride service, et cetera. And
Second
then-
one was
Housing,
housing,
yep.
and the third was expanding transportation.
Yep. Great, I think we've got them all. Now, I had a couple, one that I had that isn't, I don't see up there, so I'm gonna, my other 2 were transportation, also in housing. But I have another one, which I think is a shorter one, but I don't want it to slide off the radar screen, and that is making sure that we complete the kitchen. Once we have the major, required necessities in, that they are almost in now, there are some things that were in the original plans to maybe make it a little bit more functional. So I would like to see that on the radar screen and see if we couldn't make sure that that happens. I think one was a new floor, et cetera. Mr. Crystal, you'd like to say something?
I would, thank you.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Certainly, I'll be happy to do that. And I'm really
If you don't
thrilled that
mind.
I'm here today because I see the
Could you
goals
sit down,
that
please?
you're working on. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the microphone.
That is.
Oh, I'll smile at it. I'm glad to see goals. And I'm wondering, when are you going to be concluding the goals discussion and submitting them to wherever? Do you have a target for that?
I would like to finalize our goals today, if we can stay on target. That's why
I see.
we're approaching it this way. And the board needs to decide what they feel they can accomplish in the next year.
You want to finalize it today?
I would like to do that, if
All
we
right.
can do that. If we can establish our,
Okay.
at least 3 goals that we want to be working on,
All right.
and so that we can move along. We
I'm
don't wanna
very
drag it out.
interested in one of them, senior tax relief.
Mm-hmm.
Since I've been in town for 52 years. And when I came here, now my taxes go up every year, higher than they were when I first came here. I mean, the increase is becoming, and it's only going to continue to increase. In fact, I think my taxes will probably double in the next 10 years.
I think we all have a concern about that, and
All
so
right,
can
so-
you skip right over to?
Well, what
your
I'd like
goal
to
would
do
be?
is, I would like to work on that project. If you need citizens to work on that, I'd be very happy to work on it. In the case of the Sudbury event, I have been reporting on the Sudbury tax relief program that was been underway or practicing, they've been working on it over there for 5 or 6 years.
Right, and I think we have
And
information.
I have a lot of knowledge about that, and I mean, if, I'm only offering, I'm not, I'm just suggesting that I would be happy to provide input or do any other work related to,
Great.
collecting data or, whatever else you might need. I'd be happy to submit and do some work on.
You know what, I'd like
tax
to suggest to
situation.
you that we put that on our agenda for our next month's meeting. We can look at that and talk about that and see if there's something, and unless we put it up there as a goal, tax relief, and today, and we can see where we go, if people maybe do that, put it up there as a tax.
And we need to say that just by setting 3 goals, well, the 3 goals are going to be a major concern that we're going to deal with during the year, but there will be other issues. And
That's
if
right.
this one isn't a goal, it could be brought as an issue to be dealt
And if
with.
we don't get to discuss it more today, we can put it on the agenda for next
Understood.
month.
Okay, well, that's
Because I do
great.
feel it's certainly a concern for everybody, for all seniors.
And I'm
Are you
just
familiar with the TREAD program that is
sort of,
newly?
yes.
All right. Because if
They
you
need a
work, go to the
volunteer.
assessor's office and they can educate
Yeah,
you.
I understand about that, but a lot of these things are really, I don't think really what seniors really need. I mean, if you stop working and your income is now fixed, okay? And if you're gonna live another 20 years, and your taxes are gonna double twice, then you got a problem. And nothing that's going on in the relief for seniors impacts that. So, although I'm very happy, I'm just offering that I'll be happy to work
Thank you.
for you guys on it.
We
you know?
would appreciate that.
I'd be
Thank
very
you.
happy to maintain a dialogue and submit information. You can have me, send me out on other trips, but we like to develop something
Right, and we
that
appreciate
you could
help.
use. That's
Thank you.
what I'm offering.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
No, I'm glad that you spoke up and let us know of your areas of interest, so, thank you kindly. All right, and it is a concern, I think, tax relief, it's a huge concern.
And it ties in with housing in a
It
way,
does.
because if we could get out of our big, expensive two-story houses into reasonable housing where the taxing was,
And we do have the TRED
We're all
program in place, and so
interconnected.
little things, some things have happened in that direction. So, perhaps we can put it would be under the housing area, obviously. All right, so, I think, are we ready to move on? I think what we need to do then is to figure out exactly what we have up here. We have,
Can I make one
Oh,
comment
sure.
about goals versus objectives?
yep,
yeah.
And it sort of has come up as we've been talking about things like going to Third Thursday and the subcommittee. When I think of goals, I think of lofty goals,
right.
like
Long-term. You're thinking
increase
long-term.
awareness of what we have available and make sure people know what's going on. Then the other piece of it is the objective piece, which is the really concrete thing that you're going to do to achieve the goal.
The approaches.
So, yeah, so we have the awareness, and the way we do it is we get a subcommittee
Right.
together that's going to focus on PR and help perhaps to draft letters that people can send. We do Third Thursdays. We look at the Action Unlimited as possibilities and what have you. And I think we've done it fairly well for that piece. I think for some of the others, we perhaps need to think that same way. So for transportation, we want to improve transportation options. That's a lofty goal. How do we do that? Well, Bob wrote, for example, supporting this Crosstown Connect and supporting the town administrator in the things that he's trying to do to improve transportation options. Supporting me in the grant that I just wrote to get us a third van. Supporting efforts to get the town to give us additional funding to pay for driver salaries. So you see the split between the lofty goal statement and then the concrete things. We may not talk about the concrete things today.
We can't, we don't have time.
Oh, that's it, we don't
We
have
don't
time.
have time.
But we could look at some of these and try to turn them into
I
lofty
think a lot of
goals.
us, I mean, I know I've had a lot of experience in goals too, as being a healthcare provider myself. So a lot of us have that, and we know where we got, how we got to structure it a little bit, but some people may not. Yes, Susan?
To my mind, one of the things to do is to look at this realistically and say, where are we going to have the ability to develop approaches and to objectively fulfill them? Some of these lofty goals are without, we don't have the ability to really affect change in any way. Am I making sense?
May I ask a question?
Absolutely, Mr. Gibson.
It would be helpful to me as a listener to understand what you mean by "we don't have any control." But hold on. I thought I heard Mary say when she was giving her presentation on housing, something very similar, and I don't understand what that means.
It means that with regard to housing, I think that there are goals that are attainable for us with regard to getting the word out and continuing to get the word out about the need for senior housing. But the Housing Authority is in charge in Littleton of housing. We're an advisory board to Pamela. We aren't a board that controls or has
excuse me, but perhaps what we need to do is write a goal saying that we will find a way to attend,
The Housing Authority
the
meetings.
Housing Authority
It's
meetings.
Is
Right.
that what you meant, Mary?
Pardon me? What?
When you were talking about housing, I thought of you, but we really don't have any control. That was,
No, we don't have any control,
what did you
truly.
mean by that?
Well, I think that we should be developing places for elders to live that are smaller, more compact. I mean, in reading some of this stuff this morning, it was like, well, I have this big old house, and it needs updating, and I have had a stroke, so I can't get up the stairs without a stair lift, but I can't afford it. And, I think we need, people need to at least think about this, to develop housing for these people who can't do that anymore.
Part of the overall area of housing, though, Mary, I think. So I want to get us back on track a little, because I don't want us to get into discussion about specifics of what the housing, however we decide to do it.
What our approach is going to be. yeah.
What our approach
Okay,
is going to be.
that's helpful. That's helpful.
Do you
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear.
May I add to this? In your statement, in the recent Independent, the planning board said there's approximately 100 acres south of the Littleton train station that could become an overlay district for affordable housing, according to the planning board chairman, Richard Crowley. Littleton currently has 438 affordable housing units, and they can't keep up with the demand. Village Green has 36 units, being affordable, with their prices for 1 and 3 bedrooms are not affordable for the seniors. And Pine Tree Park is the same way. Littleton Green has units cost
Okay, Mary?
on
If you-
one's ability to pay. So things are being done
Well,
in town.
People have some awareness, and I think the issue that we're looking at is how do we support that? How do we keep it out there and keep the awareness level up? I think perhaps we know that there is a housing concern. Yes, Bob?
Maybe we need to also face the fact that there are only going to be so much that we can do as a board, and we need to look at what are the things, what are the goals that we can accomplish, or that we can do something about, and not try and grab the whole, all of the issues, none of which we're going to be able to do anything with.
Correct.
That's what the problem.
Goal has to be reasonable.
Obviously, the planning board has made a step forward, and I could say all kinds of things about that. I could tell you, in the thing I've passed out to everybody, the struggles with it. But we need to set what our 3 main emphasis are going to be for this year. And I think of them more as emphasis than goals. And then Pam's right. Then once we've done that, then we can make objectives as to what we want to accomplish and how we can accomplish that
Which
somehow.
3 areas do we want to focus on? Let's make that decision today. We can just decide, what are our priorities out of the things that are listed there, and then we can move on, I think, and, fine tune things a little bit. And I think we all agree, we're not going to accomplish miracles here in a year, that's for sure. But we can help keep things out there. and
So
keep
one of our
the
goals
focus.
is a subcommittee for PR and awareness.
Right, so do we all agree on that? We've got that up as a suggested priority.
Maybe
Just put
one
a
of
star
our
next
goals,
to
but may
it.
not be. If we're only going to pick 3 for the year,
Well, we'll put a star next to what people think should
But are we
be.
picking goals or are we picking approaches? Because if
We're
we're picking
picking-
goals, we would want to say, we want to raise awareness of what we have available.
Okay,
Right,
And then how we're going to do it, we talk about later.
okay.
all right, we can do that.
And there's actually, I think, some items on this goal list that could probably come under others as sub-items, like the kitchen being really a sub-item under nutrition.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yep. So,
Community education even could be under awareness and
Absolutely.
publicity, those kinds of things.
Bringing in younger seniors is also under
So
publicity.
basically, what we've got
Words out
for
about
potential goals are awareness, transportation, nutrition, space issues, housing, well-being, and community education.
Space
Which really
issue-
comes under awareness and publicity.
Yeah.
Community education would come under, okay, so that,
Yep.
so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major items.
Well, 1, 2, 3. Yes, and can we just be specific?
Take space
Clarify
out.
space, well, space means, I think,
We're not gonna,
senior center space. Is that what you were referring to, Barbara?
More use in this building if we could possibly get any. Also, to make better use of the space that we do have, like.
But it's for senior citizen events, that's what you're
Yeah,
looking for.
but also for the kitchen. When the kitchen is up and running, I would like to see it used almost all day, if we could get the volunteers to man it. A morning program, a men's group, a card group, just to encourage people to come in different groups and use it,
Okay.
It has been a huge impact for us to not have that
to not have the
for
kitchen.
space,
I know
because
it.
there are many times when we wind up with 3 programs going and can't
Yeah.
use multipurpose room.
Yeah,
All right, I just wanted to be sure that we're all on the same page as to what you meant by space.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
That's all.
I think the fire department has priority. They're number one in needing
Okay.
space.
No, we're not talking about
We're not
that.
talking
know.
about
No,
expanding
okay.
space
no,
at
I'm
this point.
saying making better use of the space
Space
that
we
we do
have.
have.
We have.
Okay,
You know,
there you go.
That's
Improving
it.
use of current space is what you really
I
want.
mean, it's used, but we need,
Okay, Patty?
I just wanted to ask a question about space. Was there ever an analysis done about space efficiency? Are we utilizing our space to the best?
That's what Barbara just said, improve
I mean, all our
utilization.
Has there ever been a...
Including
done
the
on-
offices and everything.
I don't know, to answer your question, whether we've ever had a utilization study done. No,
That's not a bad idea. Now, is the shop, the thrift shop, our space or friend space?
It's town space, and the
town
space
space.
that I occupy is town space. I want to be real clear on that.
Yeah.
The COA owns no space. The town owns all the space,
The
and
town
they
owns
allow
all the
us to
space.
use
Yeah.
space.
So, what, the store and all of the space is all town space,
Yes.
but doing an analysis of it, we might better utilize it. That could be a goal. That's all I'm saying.
I think that we can certainly entertain discussion of that. I do want to make really clear for those in the television audience as well as those here, the town has just given us $140,000 to redo the kitchen. Discussion of a senior center, a building, or moving out of this building is really not something that I even want to entertain.
That was not a goal.
I think it's churlish to...
But the point is that they have given, the town has given $140,000 to the town to renovate the kitchen, which is not only used by us, it's mainly used by us right now through Minuteman, but it is also available in the same way. We have things going on in the multipurpose room which have nothing to do with the COA.
well, scouts
So
and things.
this is not our space and, you know.
We
but
have
it-
to get permission to use the multipurpose room anytime, you know.
The kitchen,
You
at
have to-
least, if someone wants to use it, they have to come to
Yeah,
us
you
for
have to
that.
make the date.
That's a whole
but-
separate topic.
But if
Yeah.
you want to talk about space, at some point, we should probably do things like talk about the library plan.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many of you have seen that there are a multitude of plans for the library. One extreme is to temporarily move the library to some other location, tear down that into the building, rebuild it to library spec, and move the library back in. We would have to operate the library at another site. That's state law. The opposite end of that, quite literally, that discussion, is for the library to build adjacent to this building, down at the end where the tennis courts and the parking lot are, which would then allow us to have additional space in this building.
Allow additional space in the building for people to
For
use.
people
Hopefully,
like
we can
us,
calm
right.
some of it.
Right. So, I mean, that's the kind of, if space is an issue, that's the kind of specific objective that we could focus on, which is supporting a library plan that gives us more space here in this building. I'm not saying we would get all the library space, and it's unlikely that we would, but certainly would allow a lot of departments some breathing room, and we would be one of the ones, because we're bursting at the seams.
Okay, so in the interest of moving on, I'm watching the clock on your behalf. Please.
That's one item. I'd like to advocate another item, housing. And what I mean by housing is not us going out and building senior housing. If you look at the sheet that was passed out to you, what I was talking about was, our goal for the year could be to work strongly with the town, the selectmen, the housing officials on age-friendly housing and to change the town's mentality of single housing, large lots in favor of apartments, condominiums, senior subsidized housing, to allow seniors in the community to maintain their place in the community in affordable suites. Now that, for me, that's what housing is. It's not building the housing. If Rich wants to do that, I think that's wonderful. I was thrilled when I heard what he said. There were some problems that I had with it, but I was thrilled, and I knew why he went out to the railroad area, because
Transit area.
the grant says you have to be close to transportation, and that's the only transportation in town besides what the COA has. But I also realize that if we're going to do that, we're going to run into obstacles, and we're going to need to confront those obstacles, and we're going to need to deal with them, which is why I passed out the sheet that you have, which has nothing to do with Littleton, it has to do with Medway. And when I read it in the Globe, I was absolutely fascinated at the immediate reaction of people to senior housing. Somebody came in and said, we want to build senior housing, and we want to build it in town, right downtown, so that people and the seniors can be a part of the community. And basically what they said was, we think you've got a wonderful idea, but put it out with the COA on the corner of town. We don't want it downtown. And they gave all kinds of reasons, historical, so forth. These are arguments that are going to come at us. Even in the reaction to the article the next week, which is on the other side, you had people who are saying, oh, I think it's wonderful, but, and we need to plan on, one of our big goals that we came up with in the review was that there is a need for this. We're not going to be the ones to build it, but we need to be the ones to advocate. And if I knew Rich was going to do this, I would have congratulated him well ahead of time. But now that he's done it, I will congratulate him post-haste and let him know how great, it is that somebody listened. And he even quoted the review that we did. He had Pam talk about it. I think this is exciting, but I think it's something that we can latch hold of and accomplish something this year by keeping it on the top of people's minds.
I would add to that I would like to see the efforts of this board be coordinated with the other work that the town is doing, not in competition against it and not in opposition to it. The Housing Authority does have a housing plan. It just was published. I would recommend everyone read it to get a feel for the work that they've done in studying and seeing the direction that things should go. Crowley begins to, hit the high points there in the article about the need. And that we do everything we can to support that. Like I said, not in competition against it, not in opposition to it, but rather to be a resource for them of people who can tell a story, a personal story about wanting to get out of the two-story house.
Which brings us full circle back.
That's why I'm advocating for that sense of housing to be one of our goals for the year, one of our goals for the year. As I also agree with space. I think that is a vital thing. How can we better use what we have?
Okay, so we have, let me just throw this out. Are people okay with 2 areas of housing
I'd like to hear.
and space?
I'd like to hear more about the others before I decide.
Well, okay, so we have those 2. Or is everybody clear on that? That we have kind of people have been speaking to and alluding to. I would also like to point out, I think though, that the whole thing about housing brings us full circle back to the issue of having board members being more involved in other boards in town and getting to the meetings and getting information and having the visibility there. So, okay.
I was out of the room when you put grant programs up there. I'm not sure what that means.
That was Mary, she
Mary.
was just talking about, well, you do grant programs now, so.
But what you were saying was that we needed to, they have it on here, we need to get involved in terms of looking into grants and grant writing
That's
to
Pam's job.
accomplish some of the things that we want to do, and that was advocated as a possible goal.
But that's also Pam's job, too, I think. We can have
But it
people,
was-
volunteers, help write
Again,
grants.
I would suggest that writing a grant is an objective, and
Right.
that one writes a grant in support of
Right.
one of these
All right.
major
It can be a
goals.
volunteer that wishes to do that, can it
But
not?
only the 6 on
Two also,
the end
that's-
here, on the left end are the
How I
goals.
implement that is, I think,
Okay.
immaterial to the discussion, that the idea that the grant is written in support of one of the bigger goals. You can't go out there and ask people to just give you money and then later figure out what to do with it. You have to specifically ask them.
Grants may be possible for every one of the 6 goals.
They might be, they
Yep.
might be, right.
Okay,
What if we mentioned each one and people voted, and that way we come up
Okay.
with our 3? Do you think that
that's
that
fine.
would make
Does
sense?
the committee like to do that?
I'd like to hear a little
Then-
more on each one before I decide
All
one
right,
way or
then
the other.
your meeting's going to go past
You've
3
heard about
o'clock.
housing, you've heard about space.
We know about transportation, Bob. We know our needs.
Well, what would be our year goal? What would we,
We don't want, I think we need to select the areas,
Areas,
Bob. We
and
can write
then
the
we're gonna
specific goals
expand.
later.
Ask you about this.
yeah, but, okay, but I don't want to vote for a goal that I have no idea, I'm thinking in terms of this board and what this board can accomplish, not in terms of the major issue, but in terms of what the board can accomplish.
I think if the board chooses 3 areas, and then we can, I'm sure, we can come up with a reasonable, attainable goal in all 3 of those areas if we put our thinking caps on, because many of these things are going, things can be accomplished within a year. They're not going to be finalized, and, the ultimate stardom that we want and what we want to achieve is not going to happen in a year. We know that in most of these. Transportation, we're going to end up maybe getting our new van, hopefully in the next
All right,
year.
let
That
me put it
could
a
be.
different way. How, of the 6 goals, which are the most important
That's what
for
I've
us to
said.
deal with?
I'm sorry, but that's what I've been saying all along. Which ones are the most important for you people? So let's go back to it and vote. Can we do that? You want to do that? To see if we can't, you don't want to vote? On areas that are most important.
I want to know more about each one of those before I say, yeah, that's the most important, what we have for ideas.
Well, then I would, I guess, we
Well,
can
pick
move
one,
it.
which one do you want to know about?
Well, talk about somebody, I've talked about housing. Someone else Barbara talked about space. What do you mean by awareness? I want to be clear in my mind before I say these are the most important. Who advocated awareness? You did.
I think a couple of us did.
And there's more than one, yes.
3 of us.
3.
Because that was one of the issues raised
Right.
in the assessment.
Having the
that-
community.
It's one that I put down too,
Yeah.
to reach the lower 50. But I
Bob,
want,
Well,
it's-
not even
It's
just
about the
reach-
community, getting the word out to the community, so there's an awareness of what we do, what we offer, how we operate. And I think the fact that they can donate money to the COA, not just the Friends, and they can do it specifically to transportation or energy or whatever they want. These things are not known. That's an awareness that the community needs to have about what we do, what we offer.
And I think
Okay.
actually that article that you passed a copy around is a
Right.
perfect example of people having no idea of the value of a huge chunk of their town population. If you want them off on the outskirts of town, that speaks volumes as to how.
see, now my mind is going on, is awareness a more achievable goal this year, and is it more important than space or housing or well-being, or, I'm trying to prioritize as to what we can accomplish and what's the most important things to accomplish when I take these 6, so that when I say these 3 I think ought to be the goals, I want to have a sense of that. Nutrition in the kitchen, yeah, I'd like to see the rest of the kitchen painted and cleaned up after the thing is done, but I'm not sure if that's all that nutrition item is, then it's not an important goal for me.
Susan?
One of the things we could do is to take awareness, publicity, and PR off the list as a goal and just have it be a subcommittee who does that, and the goals remain transportation, nutrition, space, housing, and well-being.
But we still have to, let's make sure that Bob has, if he has additional questions about what people are thinking of, can you go there? Publicity, I agree, that can be just.
That's a
like
hardware.
A sub, it can cover a multitude of things.
Right.
We haven't talked about transportation, and as an achievable goal this year. I'm not sure that, there's anything more we can do. Pam's going for the third van. We're in good shape. We know that we need it, and we know that we're running out of, affordable, and yet one part of that might be going to and spending a great deal of effort with the selectmen to get extra money for drivers. Is that more important than space, housing, awareness? I'm just trying to, you're going to ask me to vote for only 3 of them, and we're going to spend our time on those 3. I want to know which 3 are the most important.
Well, that's why we need
It's
to
an individual
establish that as a vote. Let's,
I'll throw this in. Years ago, we had a person sitting at our board meetings that would take notes and submit the articles to the Independent. It made the town aware of what we were discussing and what we wanted. Maybe we should do that again.
well, that's process. We're not there yet. We're looking for the topics that we want to
Awareness.
focus on, Mary. We're just looking for the topics right now.
But are they,
Thank you.
is that more important than transportation? Is that more important than, I don't know.
Well, the
I'm
town
gonna
should
make up a
be
I'm
mind.
going to call for a vote, just to see if we can't move on.
Could I make one more comment, just for this process? So the selectmen set 8 goals last year. The previous year and this year, they had a goal that involved elders. The first year, the goal was to improve services for the elders, and the second year was to act upon the information that they had received around improving those services. The very fact that the selectmen made that one of their 8 statements was a huge message to the whole community about what they thought was important.
Right.
So I would caution all of you to also think that what you choose to say as your top 3 or 4 goals that you want to work on is also a statement, as well as what you leave off the list is a statement. You may not be able to make it 3. You may want to make it 4, maybe even 5, to speak to the things that you think people need to start paying attention to. And Bob, I don't want to argue with you, but think about, it took us 3 years to get that needs assessment.
Oh, yeah.
So don't limit yourself to something that you think we can do in
Right.
1 year.
No, I agree, but we're going to spend a modicum of our effort on, as we've been told, 3, then I need to know which 3.
We can
And
do
I need-
4.
I need to
Well,
be
I
comfortable,
like-
I need to be comfortable with the 3 that we choose.
But I like the idea of going around and letting everybody vote
Oh.
for like 3, and then seeing which ones get a lot of votes.
Fine.
And I also might make a suggestion, this is just a suggestion, but the well-being certainly is very similar to Pam's present wellness area, I think, that, so, that is being looked at, but and that falls into other things. We are concerned about well-being, that's for sure. I mean, there's no question about it. When you're talking about sending a message out to the community, we want people to know that, too, but.
But
All right,
that's very
let's do the
tightly
vote.
tied to programming, because
It is
that's
tightly.
that's where we attack the well-being piece. Unless, of course, I could get the town to get me a public nurse, that would be awesome. Then we could start a whole new program.
Right. Okay, let's take a vote just to get a feel for where we are, maybe, and then we might go with 4. The board might say, let's do 4. It's fine. I threw out 3 just as a way of getting us going.
So we
So-
can each only vote on 3, or,
If
and
you-
then we'll come up with the highest numbers. That makes sense.
I think so. That's what I would suggest. I'd like to see us do, so. Of this, we have 6, right? Correct right now? So, and then we might decide if we have the 3 that, oh, well, wait a minute, wellness can go right along with nutrition, and programming in that direction. I don't know. So let's take a vote. What are the first, who wants to start? And then we'll just go around until we're done. Saying which ones you think are the most important.
No, why don't you say the goal, and then we vote.
Okay, I'm
A
sorry.
hand vote.
I'm sorry. I lost my own train of thought. Thank you. I keep on trying to get us out of here at 3, and it's not going to happen, so I think I need to just sit back and accept that. So, okay, let's take the first goal up here listed as increasing awareness, publicity. We haven't formally titled that, but that whole category. 2, feel it's, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, feel that's important.
And Roseanne,
7, I'm sorry, Roseanne. Okay, transportation?
Yep.
3?
The whole,
Well, you can tell you guys are still driving.
3.
It depends on what you're talking about, but yeah, I would not.
Okay. Nutrition?
nutrition. Now, is the kitchen included in that, or is kitchen included in space?
That's included in nutrition, I think. It's
Nutrition.
underneath nutrition.
Kitchen, nutrition.
Jean, 1, okay, 1, 2?
Well,
No.
no, that's okay.
All right, 1. Space?
Space, I'll do.
2, 3, 4, 5. Remember to turn my head this time, Roseanne. So, okay, what's the next one? Housing.
Housing.
1, 2, 3,
Whatever.
5, 6. And well-being.
Well-being.
You were going to combine that with nutrition.
Well, no, I just threw that out as a suggestion. I'm not, you know.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was thinking of that myself, because you could slash it, much like we got awareness, publicity, PR. That's why I asked you to move, because I wanted to know what was beside wellness.
Programming.
I mean, nutrition, well-being, programming could be collectively put together. I would move well-being up to nutrition. I would bet you would get more than one.
They should be combined.
Nutrition.
Everybody? All right, let's take a vote again, here.
Wait a minute, what about the senior tax relief and the grant program thing?
What?
Where?
well, the grant,
That's got, only the
those were
first 6 are the only ones that we're dealing
sidebars
with.
to the goals. Those were sidebars, Pamela.
So where does senior tax relief fall?
Yeah,
I thought that was,
I wasn't
I
looking,
thought
I was
that
just
was a
looking at the,
major goal that
yeah,
you guys had talked about.
yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
It
Well,
isn't, really.
I think I killed the grant program thing, but I didn't know about the senior tax relief.
The senior tax relief, I don't think is a particular goal for the year, but it is something that you could deal with.
Did you say you could do
Outside of
it?
goals, outside of goals. I'm looking for major things that we're going to struggle with this year.
within our areas, you
And
know, as an
obviously, we don't
advisory
have 3
group.
each, that's only 10, 11. There are 9 of us, 10, 11, that's 22. 9 goes into 22.
There were
There should be 27 votes, so,
I did not vote on any of them.
there were 7.
all right, so there'll be 24 votes in the
You
rest.
didn't vote, Bob.
I didn't. I only voted for 1 because you guys were going so fast and I was trying to write it down.
What about
We
that
still
other
haven't
list
voted on
there?
well-being.
What about that other list there, outreach for
That's
all?
Pam's, those are
Those
Pam's.
are my
Oh,
focus.
okay.
Those are
Right,
Pam's
right,
goals.
Budget
okay.
was.
So, all right, where are we?
So wellness and
Well-being, let's make a decision about that. Are we,
Well-being.
is the group wishing to move it? Or do you want to vote on it as a separate entity right now?
Is it actually, would it be under Pam's wellness?
Wellness and programming, yep. Well-being.
But think about Pam's coming from a different perspective than we are. We do support her and her job, and that's our job. But we're coming from a little different perspective. So combining it, I don't think hurts. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I put this
For
list up
us to
here
make
for
goals.
your information, for
Right.
you guys to know that when I go in to talk budget, this is the stuff I'm trying to defend.
I would suggest from the fact that we're all sitting here discussing whether it even ought to be there, that I don't think it's a major goal. So we have 5 major goals: awareness, transportation, nutrition, space, and housing.
And nutrition only got 1 vote.
Actually, the top ones are the awareness, the housing, and space.
Well, nutrition kind of comes under Pam's wellness.
Right. And she works
I mean,
on
the
nutrition.
nutrition in the kitchen comes from Minuteman, so I don't know that
It
we
really
can
has nothing
change
to do with
that.
us.
But it's one of Pam's goals that she works on during the year.
I know, anyhow.
They'll get nutrition out of there.
Well, it's not lost if we put it under nutrition. I mean, it's a collective
only one
goal.
person-
We take care of the whole being if we put it there. We're not forgetting.
Should be
It
combined.
still does not come in as to one of the top three, unless you're suggesting that we have four, and even if you're suggesting we have four,
Okay, nutrition can come under well-being, and the kitchen can come under space. Couldn't it?
that's-
Well, the space was going to
If
be,
that's what you're talking about, is only the kitchen.
no, the kitchen, it wasn't use of the kitchen, it was
Finishing.
completing the renovations.
So that really is under space.
It is under space. Okay,
Oh,
so that would go under space.
shit, so you can take my one vote out.
Take that away. Where would you like,
Add
you
it
don't
to
want to vote on
space.
that?
Huh?
Now you got to vote, you can put someplace else.
Yeah.
So we're taking out nutrition altogether?
We're just giving it
We
a
were
zero.
just taking out,
It's just not a priority, because it wasn't high, it didn't receive very many votes, so it's not a priority. I don't think it has to be removed necessarily. And we go back to the fact that the top four, even if you wanted to have four, you've got awareness, the publicity, that whole issue. You've got transportation, and space, and housing.
Okay, well,
As
I
the
only
four
made-
areas that we feel should be looked at. Correct?
Agreed.
You can change space to 6 because I only made one. So have you voted on anything?
No.
Okay, so there are eight, there should be 24. There are now 22. So I think I had one other vote that I could make. And then there's got to be somebody else who didn't make
I am a little confused about
3.
what you guys are talking about doing though under space. Because we know we're not going to talk about building a senior center.
No.
So
Right.
what is it that you want to accomplish with that?
I think the issue that I heard was, are we utilizing the current space most efficiently? Has there ever been it was thought, has there ever the question was raised, has there ever been an efficiency study done, et cetera? I don't know how you would go about doing that, but we could find that out.
Well, you may remember when Barry and
Right,
Louise
I do remember that.
and Mary Kay did a look at
Space.
space and their recommendations.
That was a subcommittee of this committee at one point. And they came up with recommendations about,
They wanted to take room 233 and
Right.
turn it into the offices.
right,
They wanted to cut it up into cubicles and make that office space for Tina and me.
and take it away as a room for activities and things, which did not seem to have a lot of,
Marcia had a big thing about space too, about it's not being used enough, the different rooms and everything. And she complained about that quite often, so I don't know if it has anything to do
I
Seems
with
to
guess I
me-
have a different space problem. My space problem is that sometimes I have to put people down in the
I
assessor's
was
office.
just going to say that.
Because we're so crowded.
There's
Right.
not enough room, for
I mean,
activities.
it'd be great if I could get people to meet at night or meet on the weekends, but that's not when
Just not.
That's not when Mahjong wants to play Mahjong.
Does that answer your
Okay,
question?
so at this point, we have 22 out of 24 votes, so
I know I voted 3 times.
I did too.
We're so good.
Okay. Did everyone else vote 3 times?
I don't know. Well, my vote was nutrition, so it got thrown out.
Well, you voted other times than that,
yeah,
too.
but
You
that,
voted.
but that's now a vote that she has to put somewhere
Right,
else.
you can put it someplace else. Did you vote on, see, now it's getting
I
confusing.
voted on awareness.
I was going to say, do you remember what you did vote for?
I think I voted for space.
Awareness, space, okay, and where would you put your nutrition vote? Into housing or transportation?
I don't think I voted for transportation. Is that what you're looking for, votes? I don't think I voted for transportation.
Well,
I'm still confused on what you think you guys can do about space.
With what?
What you think you can do about space.
I'm not sure what a goal would be there either.
I know what you can do about transportation. You can, speak to town officials, speak at town meeting, write letters to support to the paper. There are things that you can do when initiatives come up like Crosstown Connect and what have you. Talk about it positively with people, but space,
Well,
It is what it
with
is.
space, one of the things that could be done is we could advocate for an efficiency study to determine the space and use of all of the different pieces of the building.
I don't think that's realistic.
the whole building. I'm not sure that the
Oh,
town would see
no.
us as having
I'm not
Any,
going to tell them to move
any
town.
province
business about
over
that.
that.
Yeah.
There are a
Well, I
couple
know,
of
but
town
we go
offices I
back
could get
to,
rid
the
of, but-
space issue was, Barbara brought it up, and it was her concern about utilizing the kitchen space more efficiently, correct?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, mostly. So that's
Getting
basically
more
what it
things
is.
in, yeah.
But gets into programming
Right.
and other things, so it is an overlap there.
And you realize I was not allowed to use the kitchen space for the last 6 months. We were not allowed in.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so
I
that's
know
why I
that.
haven't had anything down
Oh,
there.
yeah, I
because
know
we're
that.
not allowed in the
Yeah,
dining
no, I'm
area.
talking after it's opened.
Yeah.
And running and,
So that's something that actually, it's not,
It's really programming.
it's
Yeah.
programming, it's a programming concern.
and make more
Which
use.
really falls back to Pam, in Pam's lap. With our, when we
Yeah.
can come
You
up
know, a
with
lot of
ideas.
us obviously have some concern about the space issues, because 6 people voted. I mean, got 6 votes, so
I
what?
think that it probably comes back to Bob wanting clarification on
Yeah.
definitions. Because when I voted
Okay.
for space, I think I was thinking of it from a programming utilization perspective as opposed to.
Okay.
If somebody wants to take on the job of programming, I'd love to. turn it on.
Okay, that was a straw vote, and basically what it says is that awareness, space, and housing are the 3 most important things that we can deal with this year. How we deal with them will be the objectives.
And that'll be on the
Are we in
agenda.
agreement that those are the 3 most important?
Well, I'm really sorry to see transportation left off that list.
I am too.
That
Well,
was
I'd rather
the
do-
number one.
Right, I
of
think
all of the
transportation.
items, that was the number one for 50 to 59 and for 60 and up.
Yes, in the needs assessment,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm really disappointed that you
Well,
guys don't think
I-
that has higher priority.
I didn't vote, but transportation was one of my key ones.
I
and
did vote for
If
transport.
we don't support transportation, who
Who
will?
is? Yes.
I'm just giving you numbers. You voted 6, 6, and 7.
I know.
Is that what you want? If you don't want it, change it. I don't, see, this
Why
is what I
didn't you
said. I
vote?
wanted to talk about it first because
Well, so then why?
Why didn't you vote?
Only because I was trying to keep track of things too.
Sure, but you're a
Why don't we
member.
do 4?
Why don't we do 4? Why don't we
Right, that just makes sense.
take
We talked about that too.
And this.
And there we go.
this 4?
And then we've got it.
And then we've got it.
And we remove nutrition.
And then at our next meeting, we start to flesh out the approaches, as Roseanne said, the approaches, the objectives, the end run of what we.
All right, can we take a vote? May I have a motion to?
I move that awareness, transportation, space, and housing be the 4 major concerns of the Council on
Lofty
Aging
goals.
Board for this year.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Those are the 4 areas we are going to be working on, and we need to come up with some specific goals. So, I
For
would,
specific
I'll-
approaches instead of.
approaches, an approach. I'll send an email out and ask you to put your thoughts together a little bit about that part, that piece, okay? Thank you.
In the interest of time, I'd like to put a suggestion out there that you take these goals one at a time.
1 month at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would you like, I will ask you right now, which would you like to deal with first?
Awareness. Me too.
Okay?
I'm all for getting.
All right, then let's start with the awareness publicity one, and we'll tackle that and go from there. Okay. moving on so we can get the reports done. We're running over, but not too bad, all things considered, I guess. Budget, and also, I have a copy of that wonderful article about the planning board and Rich Crowley at work and everything, if anybody would like to take it and read it. It doesn't have the Independent or something, so. Okay. Budget, Bob, you're still typing. Can we do the director's report and come back to the mark?
Yep.
Okay. Why don't we do that so that we move along here?
Some of you may already know that George Ogilvy resigned as a driver. He has been off work ill since August, and he resigned at the beginning of February. So that's the first item in my director's report. Really sorry to see George go. He was a real linchpin in the driving program, very well liked by all of the people who rode the buses, and he will be greatly missed. Fortunately, the last time that I went to hire a driver, Keith and Bonnie decided that they would start treating the driver pool like an on-call pool, like for firemen or for police. So I don't have to go through such an onerous process now to get people on board. And I think I'm okay with the number of drivers that we have right now to cover. They've obviously all been covering since August anyway. So, there's no worries in that department. We've already talked about the Cooper donation. I would like to do a call out to the Littleton Westford Emblem Club, which comes in on a very regular basis and brings us a ream of paper. Actually, a whole box of paper. The Littleton Westford Emblem Club, number 244. It's in my report. And they provide us with paper, and as you can see, we go through a lot of paper in a month's time, so it's really great to have them do that. We've already talked about Sue Hutchinson.
Excuse me, Pam, I don't have a copy of your report.
It was in your packet.
Here. Oh, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, but her
It's the
report.
It looks like that.
It's there, it's after that, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it.
Should be after, yeah. But I took things out of sequence
I
today.
was looking, it was stuck. Okay.
I would like to point out to everyone that we just started this new RMV program, Registry of Motor Vehicles. I went for a training session with a representative from RMV. They've been going around to COAs, launching this pilot program to get us to help people to do things online, like renewing driver's licenses, renewing vehicle registrations, change of address, and things like that.
What happens if you have to be 75 and older, you have to go in person?
Well, if you read the broadcaster, it says that if you're over 75, you have to go in because you have to do an eye test.
Right. But that's the only exception.
There are some limits
Right,
on
just
what
so
I can
people,
do.
anybody thinking about it, right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get
How are they
that.
gonna renew their licenses online if they've got to take an eye test?
You can't, that's what we're saying, there are exceptions.
If you can see the screen, they consider that to be your eye test. That's just a joke. I actually had a senior come in to do a change of address. It went really smoothly, and there were no problems with that at all. For legal purposes, I do have everyone sign a waiver that indicates that they understand that they're revealing confidential information to me. But the system does not keep anything, we don't keep anything locally, so there's no implications about that. Transportation, again, remains busy. We were off the road a couple of days. One day because the town hall was closed, which you know is an unusual circumstance. And the second time because the road conditions were so bad that I really didn't want to get people out there. I didn't want to get the vans out there. They're both rear-wheel drive and they're not particularly reliable in the snow. As always, the issue we have with transportation is not so much the main roads. You may look out the window and think, oh, those roads are fine, why'd you take the vans off the road? But people don't live on the main roads, they live on side streets and they live up driveways. So it's very difficult in some cases to bring people down.
Look at the increase from, talking about transportation, the increase from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 16. 366, and we jumped to 505.
And 505 is really the top limit for us. At 500 rides a month, we are turning people away, and I get lots of complaints from people saying, I had to wait a long time, I don't understand why I have to go at 9 o'clock in the morning when my appointment isn't until 10. that kind of thing, which is why I'm pushing so hard for us to get this third van and for the town to give me enough money to operate it at least 4 hours a day. Transportation is that invisible piece that supports so much other stuff. It gets people out of their homes, it gets them to doctor's appointments, it gets them to the grocery, it gets them to our nutrition program.
Right now, it's based on really significant needs. Social needs aren't really a factor. I mean, as much as they are, other, like food, doctor's appointments, et cetera.
But that's a
If you
piece
have
of
the
it, too.
neighborhood supper, that would be great if we could provide transportation for people to go to that, but we just can't.
I wish
Right.
I could supply transportation. for
Right.
that.
There are so many things that go on that would be a great thing for seniors to get out to that are.
Now, we didn't talk about the MART budget, but in terms of the MART budget, you all saw the request that I made for a reserve fund transfer. And that was because all fall, I had to pay double, because I had to pay the benefits to the driver who was off ill at the same time that I was paying for a driver to cover those shifts. Everything I've seen so far is a green light on us receiving the reserve fund transfer, which means that the money will then come back into the MART account, and we will not run out of money at the end of the year. So I'm very grateful to Keith and to Bonnie for supporting me in making that requested thing. There is one other item that I want to mention that just came up. I received a contact from a Jenny Vergao, who is part of the, have you heard of the Pew Trust or the Pew Foundation, which does, it's a think tank in Washington that does looking into social science issues and health issues. They are currently looking into the issue of boomers who live in the suburb, who have single-family homes, who want to age in place, who do not have public transportation available, and don't have enormous savings that they can use to move to someplace like the Commons at Lincoln. I'm going to work to try to get some names to Jenny of some people that she can talk to. She wants to talk directly to people about their issues. So I'll be reaching out and asking all of you to suggest people who might be interested and see if we can find some people for her to interview. I think Littleton would be a wonderful representative community for her of exactly the issue that she's trying to attack. And considering the whole discussion we just had about goals, I think everyone understands that that's a huge issue right now for people. The rest is numbers. I am working on the town report right now, the annual report. There will be some impact that you will see in there in terms of attendance because of the loss of the Thursday lunch program, the men's breakfast, the ladies' breakfast, and all the various programs that we do in the diner. You'll really see it when we, next month I'm going to give you some numbers for the whole year of 2015. Remember, the fiscal year runs July to July, but when you run it from January to December, you really see the impact of the diner being offline for such a long period of time. Having said that, though, again, my thanks to the PMBC for getting this project done. I know that there are people who are very upset about how long it took to do this, but truthfully, if we compare ourselves to what happened with the Congregational Church, I think we really...
Yeah, we did better.
They did do better, right. It was over a year for them, so, a year to do their
But we didn't run,
project.
we didn't run into an underground well when we get down there, underground stream.
So that's my report. Any questions?
Thank you. Would you like to finally, Tina?
Because that was the office downstairs calling me, so I've got something going
go
on
right
down
ahead
there.
then.
So I'll do this first, and
You
then
wanna
I'll
do
go.
this first?
Yeah, they can wait, they
Okay,
said, yeah,
okay.
so that's
Thank you.
good. Okay, thanks. Okay, well, everything's going along in outreach well. We've got the caregiver support group coming up this Wednesday night, and that's a nice mix of caregivers from a variety of caregiving roles that they're playing. And we've been fortunate enough to have speakers every month come. This month, it's Karen Rivero from Visiting Angels in Acton. So I know we're going to have a little bit of weather going on, but I think it will still be good to have that going on. Other groups are going well, too, social anxiety as well as the living alone group. And we have been actively doing fuel assistance applications. We've been actively seeking Cooper funds when needed. We've been actively seeking the Friends when needed for certain items that, people need that are covered by those groups. The Valentine's outreach from St. Anne's Church went very well, and many people who were shut in or who had basic needs at the holidays were given either a Valentine and home-baked cookies or fruit from there. And we're working on in May the Day of Caring from the Council of Churches. That will be going on a Saturday morning in May, and that's outdoor yard work only. Let's see, the Food is Love program out of the Congregational Church and from the same church that does the neighborhood supper. We occasionally ask them to deliver some home-cooked meals to people, in need, with certain needs, certain caregiving needs, and we continue to ask them for support. And the neighborhood supper, we do have a senior tax worker that's bringing people that don't drive, but I know that's only 2 to 3 people a week, and she's, she told me to make her aware if there are other people that need to go, she can drop people off and try to, work something out. It's not as great as if we could have a van to do that, but it's a solution, to meet a need for particular people who have come into the office and asked for that particular help. Okay. Courtney Walker, our student intern, is starting a newcomers group. We've noticed we've had many new people moving in town, and she's actually touching on, under 60, over 60 men as well as women, and that starts tomorrow afternoon from 1:30 to 2:30, and she feels fully prepared for that. It will be every other week. And Courtney will be with us until the end of April, and you will all hear in the newsletter that we'll have a coffee hour for Courtney before she graduates and moves on. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions, or Pamela,
That's going to be a great
anything.
group, a newcomers group.
Newcomers group, yes.
Newcomers group, that's
Yeah,
a nice, yeah, great idea.
Nice thing, yes.
Will you continue it when Courtney's gone?
This is what we don't know. We've talked about maybe it might spin off into a men's group, it might spin off into a group, an ongoing group, and we can see how it goes, so we'll look at that.
And it depends on whether we have the staff in order to do that. But Tina, one of the things I wanted to mention is the Littleton Community Farm has been in touch with us already for the upcoming year. They are again going to be providing us with shares, community-sponsored agriculture shares, where we grant a share to a family, and then just like anyone who buys a share, and the share is about $400 and some for the season, they go once a week, they pick up the produce, they also have a pick-your-own program as part of that. Last Wednesday, I spoke to the Rotary with Amy Turlow-Lewis, who's their spokesperson, and asked them if they would fund 2 shares for the diner. Didn't ask for it this year because I knew the diner would be out of commission for the summer. But if they agree to that, then that means we will get 2 boxes equivalent for a family of 4. That would allow us to supplement food, which is what Gail does so well as part of the program, or even pass out food at the end of the week for people. So very, very excited about that. Tina coordinates all of that in terms of finding people, seniors or families, and getting them hooked up with Amy. Nice job, Tina.
Yes. Thank you, Tina.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for being so patient with us today.
That's always interesting.
That's a blower to do that, huh? Okay, Bob, you're on.
Okay, the only thing you want to do is on the March budget, you want to fill in the monthly riders for January. She has 505, so that's the number. It's on that second line under driver's hours, and there's monthly riders. And I did not get it I did this right after the first of the month, and that report hadn't come out. And when you did send it to me, it said 326, so it must have been some strange report.
You should have gotten 2. You should have gotten 2 that you had together.
No, I should have, I think I did add the 2 together, but okay, never mind. Anyway, it was 505, so, and I've already corrected the report online. Nothing else is, anything spectacular, so it's basically just, if anybody has any questions on the 2 reports.
Oh, it's right there.
We still have money. All we're doing is looking at the budget as Pam is spending it, and it just shows us that we're in decent shape right now. Eventually, we're going to have a problem with the drivers, the 5 driver part of the budget, and that's why we are requesting the extra money, because we've been paying out the short-term disability and so forth for George, and it's going to throw us off. So, in
Do
addition,
they get unemployment insurance? Are they covered?
I don't know how it works. They're town employees, and it's whatever the town has.
Oh, okay.
One gets unemployment insurance when one is separated from a job. I didn't separate George, he retired or resigned. I didn't fire him.
All right. Barbara, anything to report?
Not really, bingo was fine. The diner had one little mishap. There was one day when the Meals on Wheels driver could not do it, and he didn't know until, late. So Gail really had to call around. I guess she called Pam and called everybody, and Martha Child finally said she would do it, and she did. We just might need a couple of backup Meals on Wheels drivers
Lesson learned, huh?
that would do it once in a while.
And I put out an appeal. I
Yeah,
asked the
yeah.
senior tax workers if there was anyone who wanted to be a backup driver.
Did you hear? You didn't hear
Haven't
from
heard
anybody
anything
yet?
back,
Yeah,
I want to put it in the April broadcaster,
yeah.
same thing. We missed the deadline for March.
I think it's the first time that's ever happened, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
in the 3 years that I've been running things.
But that's a good point, to keep somebody in mind that might be available, yeah, to have somebody as a backup.
Well, they had the same problem I'm having on the front desk this time of year.
What?
People have gone off to Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Mary?
Okay. The police in Leominster have an Are You OK program. The local police call designated persons every day to make sure that they're okay. This is a free service to the elderly and the disabled families. You had mentioned the police should get involved. Well, I think they do get involved with the CPR, our local place, and they are very helpful with the blood pressure clinic and so forth. But I thought that was a good idea, somebody calling people that live alone and say, "Are you okay?" every day, but it has to be as designated families and probably appointed through Tina, maybe. Otherwise, how would they know who to call? You know? But it's a good point for people living alone.
It's a good point, but
Huh?
what about your neighbors?
It
Your own
depends.
neighbors,
I have
no.
wonderful neighbors, but not everybody does.
No,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Don't get all excited. I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
What
I don't know about
people's
neighbors.
neighbors
I don't know.
calling each other?
I know. I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
Buddy system.
No. The Littleton population is 9,038. 7.9% is 60 to 69 years old, according to the census report. 70 to 79 is 5.7 report, and over 80 is 4.8%. For Alzheimer's and dementia, and it seems that the local police are now taking training so that they know about people that have issues on driving or wandering off or have Alzheimer's or dementia. That is an increasing in number as people get older. They fall into that category. And the police department are getting training in Concord, Bedford, Westford, and Chelmsford. Okay, that's it. I'll leave the rest of it off.
Okay, you can table it until next month if you'd like, I guess. That's your
No,
call.
that's all right. That's fine.
All right. Do we have any additional business?
I vote, or I suggest that we accept the reports as given.
Thank you kindly. Do I have a second on that motion?
second.
Thank you, Mary. Did you get that, Bob?
Already put it on?
You already put it on. Ooh, you're way ahead of us. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Susan, second? Here. Jean?
She's already packing.
I know, I
ready to
see
go.
that. Well, didn't quite make it, 3:24.
Well, not bad.
Considering everything we did, I mean, we accomplished quite a bit.
We
You know,
did.
really.
Pam,
We did.
Pam, you've got copies of